All right, Chief.
We're
We got to
going
get
to go right
Chief
over actually
Meteorologist
to our
Christy.
Chief Meteorologist, Christy Henderson. You've got an update for us, Christy.
We actually have a new tornado warning that's been issued for a couple of these storms that we were pointing out in Anderson County. These couple of storms actually moved across from Hart County, and this tornado warning in effect until 5. I'm going to give you some information here on this. It was located about 9 miles northeast of Hartwell, and that's moving northeast at 20. So let me go ahead and show you on the screen here where this is going next as this storm makes its way in the general direction through the northern portion of Anderson County. So again, as that's moving at about 20 miles per hour, not moving too quickly, but if you're around Sandy Springs, it's going to arrive where you are in about 6 minutes. LaFrance community around 7 minutes or so. And again, this tornado warning in effect until 5 o'clock. We're watching some of these cells and they were showing some indication of rotation. Temperatures overall have been pretty cool this afternoon thanks to that earlier rain that was around. Just the same, there's enough turning of the winds with height in the atmosphere, change of wind speed and wind direction to get some of these low-topped storms to begin to develop. So if you are around the LaFrance community, around Highway 76 in Anderson, you need to be taking cover right now from this storm that may be producing a tornado. We'll put this in motion so you can see how it's been moving. This particular cell actually moved in from Hart County and was showing a little bit of rotation, and now it's picked up some more identity as far as that's concerned. So we'll check the velocity mode where we can kind of look at those reds and greens and see how, they're tracking with time to see if there's rotation there. We certainly do see that in this case with that activity right around this area. So the greens again indicate the winds blowing towards the radar, the reds away from the radar, and that circulation looks like that's going to track right along 85 as a matter of fact. So if you're in that area, you definitely need to be taking cover. Just kind of if you have errands to run, you need to make sure that you're sort of out of the way of this, and so you can get to cover from this particular cell. Looks like that is going to stay in general north of Anderson. In fact, we'll step it back a few frames and then forward. So again, right now the circulating part of the storm right over I-85, maybe just north, headed towards the LaFrance community, also over towards Sandy Springs. So at this point, just a few minutes if you're in those areas to take cover as that storm makes its way northeastward in the general direction of 178. Beyond that point, we don't know if that's going to hold together or if that warning will be extended, but you can see that we are under a tornado watch now. That includes a big part of the upstate and a few of our counties in western North Carolina. Meteorologist Jackie Brown is standing by. Jackie, we've been tracking these storms this afternoon. Just a couple of problems out there, it looks like.
Yeah, so I actually am going to kind of show you the conditions that are making this favorable right now as we do take a look at our radar there. We continue to see the tornado. We've been seeing temperatures in the 70s across the area right now. We're seeing 60s in western North Carolina. We've got a lot of cape going on with this, and that storm energy really surging in our area. So that's been making things really favorable. Again, you continue to see this storm system. This continues to push to the northeast. So if you are, again, in the Anderson area, we can see just favorable conditions right now for this tornado, possible tornado. We don't have anything confirmed as of now, but we're going to storm track this for you around 20 miles per hour. So if you're in Sandy Springs, you've got about 7 minutes. LaFrance, 8 minutes. And so we'll continue to keep our eye on this cell. Again, a storm, tornado possible. This is, again, radar indicated. We've been seeing tornado warnings kind of pop up with this system. It's been a low pressure system that's the cause of this. And we've been seeing those temperatures really in the 70s, especially in our southern counties. And we've been seeing that daytime heating, a lot of energy. This is the biggest picture as that line continues to push to the northeast. The storm, a severe thunderstorm watch is to the south of us. The tornado watch is going to be tonight until 9 o'clock. So if you have any plans for this afternoon, just keep in mind we can continue to see some of those thunderstorms and showers work their way through our area. Right now we're really looking around Sandy Springs and Anderson area, kind of clipping Clemson right there. But this is really the bulk of where we can see that. Especially we're keeping our eye on this cell right here with that possible rotation, rotating storm. There's the circle right there. So again, you really need to make sure you are finding that spot, maybe somewhere in the basement, inner area of your house or home. And we've been seeing tornado warnings just pop up to the east of us, but now we've got that daytime heating. So now we're seeing conditions really favorable for tornadoes with this. And this really is going to be until this evening. So Christy, again, we're going to continue to track this system, right, Christy?
You were talking about, Jackie, how the temperatures overall have been on the cooler side, but with this area of low pressure moving through, there's just enough change in wind speed and wind direction with height to get some of these storms to rotate. Notice as it's moving northeastward, it's going to be moving into cooler air because across the lakelands in general, from Anderson County to Abbeville to Greenwood County, temperatures have been able to rise into the mid-70s. You move a little farther north and we're right around 70 degrees. So yeah, Jackie's pointing out the aerial coverage of that tornado warning and also the specific cell that prompted that warning. So Jackie, I'm thinking that as this continues to work into slightly cooler air, that's going to help to draw and take away some energy. We'll see how long that storm can survive, but certainly as we step this forward and backwards with time, we can see that rotation looks like it's very close to the La France community near I-85. And again, moving northeast at 20. And so if you're in those areas, you need to take cover right now. We'll do another storm track and let you know where this is going next as it continues in that direction in general, right along I-85. So again, if you're in that area, just wait for any errands you have to run. Hopefully the kids are back from school. But it's pretty much around the La France area right now, Sandy Springs. You should be taking cover at this point as well. And again, larger view shows that we've got a large aerial coverage of this tornado watch. So even though the temperatures are cool, there's enough of that change in wind speed and wind direction with height that we have to keep an eye on these storms, especially into Pickens County and into Anderson County, where we have that warning in effect. Even back behind this, we have to keep an eye on any activity that develops in Oconee County that could track into more favorable conditions here. But for the time being, that tornado warning situated in Anderson County, the warning in effect until 5 o'clock, so another half hour or so, where we're going to have to be concerned with the potential development of a brief, weak tornado. But Jackie, any tornado can cause damage. Any severe thunderstorm can cause damage too. We had to look out for that earlier today. So, whereas earlier we were concerned about the straight line winds, this time around we got to be concerned with maybe one or two other storms, maybe taking on some rotation that people have to worry about.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm not sure if you guys can change it to the links 1 so we can kind of show them the current conditions that are making this kind of favorable right now. But as we do continue to look at our radar right now, again, there's the system that we track. And there we go. There's the temperatures that we're looking at right now. We're seeing those temps in the 60s and 70s. So more favorable in the upstate right now with those temperatures. And this is actually your storm energy. This is what helps fuel the storms. And as you can see right on spot there, Clemson, Anderson, that's where we're seeing the most of the fuel right now for these storms as these continue. And then by 8 o'clock, things do start to taper off. And this is all due to this low pressure system that is continuing to work its way through. This low pressure system combined with daytime heating. We've got the low level winds. We've got a nice situation right here for tornadoes that will be favorable. We've already seen over 2 inches of rain in Asheville. We've seen almost an inch there in Lawrence and Greenville. And we're going to continue to see over the next couple of hours this low pressure system pumping in those southerly winds. We've got the daytime heating. We're seeing a little bit of that shear. So again, favorable for those tornadic conditions with what we're looking at. So we'll continue by 8 o'clock. We're going to continue to see the rain and the showers and the thunderstorms continue to kind of get on out of here. So we continue to track that as we're going to go ahead and toss it back to Christy where she's keeping an eye on that storm. But these are the conditions that we have right now that continue to make this favorable. So by 8 o'clock, we'll start to see these, the showers and the low pressure system start to get off to the east of us. So just things to keep in mind as you are preparing for this evening and making any plans. We continue to see the showers and the thunderstorms work their way into our area. And then again, we do have that tornado warning, and that's going to be in effect until, 5 o'clock. Radar indicated the severe thunderstorm capable of producing tornado located 7 miles west of Anderson or 4 miles northeast of Lake Hartwell. And Christy, it's moving northeast at about 30 miles per hour.
Recent update actually has sped it up just a bit, so moving a little faster. And as we track the rotating part of that storm and push it ahead 30 miles an hour, you can see that that's going to be, in general, tracking right across Highway 178. I will zoom in because the rotating part of this storm is just to the south of the Sandy Springs area. Right in through here, you can see that hook. And as we look at the storm relative velocity, it kind of matches up. You see the greens being blown towards the radar, the reds being blown away from the radar. So the circulating part of that storm just situated just south of Sandy Springs. So if you're in Sandy Springs, you should be taking cover right now. If you know somebody that lives there, maybe they've been busy, they know rain's been going on, maybe give them a text, let them know that they should be under cover right now. And as that storm tracks over 178, it's going to continue in the general direction of Lebanon, Five Forks potentially, just east of Highway 178. And as I put this in motion, you can see how it's been moving in general to the northeast. Latest update, about 30 miles per hour. And so it's going to be able to cover more ground in Anderson County, get in a few locations a little bit faster. And then it looks like for the extent of this warning, it is only going to be in Anderson County. But if conditions remain favorable, then it's possible that warning is extended after 5 o'clock. But right now, this warning in effect until 5 o'clock, the storm itself making some pretty good progress. And again, tracking the rotating part of the storm, which actually has tightened up just a bit. So just south of the La France community, this is very close and just north of the I-85 corridor, very close to the community of Denver, Bridlewood, Sandy Springs. Y'all should be taking cover right now. I'm going to step this back so we can actually follow that rotating part of the storm. And it looks like that may have crossed to 85, so it's now north of 85, headed in the general direction right around the Sandy Springs area right now. If you're around the Lebanon area, you should be taking cover, and also Five Forks in Anderson County, just east of Highway 178. Again, this is the velocity mode. This shows us which way those raindrops are blowing. The green indicates rain being blown towards the radar, the red away. So our circulating part of the thunderstorm is right around the Denver Sandy Springs community right now. And if you're around those areas, or if you know someone who is, you should be taking cover at this point, because we may have, this is a radar indicated tornado. Jackie, as far as I can tell, looking at the chat from the National Weather Service, it's not confirmed, but we see the rotating part of that storm.
Yeah, that's right. We haven't had any confirmation yet, again, as we kind of zoom out there. So find that safe space. Find, you want to be in the center of the house. Grab your shoes, maybe a bathroom. If you don't have the basement, you want to get to the lowest level of your house or home. And as we do take a look at Links 1 here, let's look at the tornado watch that we have. That's going to be in effect for most of our area. That's going to be until 9 o'clock. And Christy was just showing you that tornado warning in Anderson County until 5 p.m. The tornado watch is going to continue through 9 o'clock this evening. We've got conditions favorable where you're seeing those 70s. That's where we've got a lot of moisture. And again, this storm energy really fueling. We've got a good setup this afternoon to see some of these severe thunderstorms. And even you can see Anderson County. We're seeing areas near Clemson, Lawrence, Greenwood, so Pickens and Coney County. We're looking at some very good fuel to really pump up these storms. And we're seeing those 70s. And it's all due to this low pressure system that's working its way through our area. We've got the shear, we've got a nice setup, we've got the daytime heating. And so with that, we will continue to see a few showers and thunderstorms and even possible tornadoes. That tornado warning until 9 o'clock. So that's by 6 o'clock, still near Greenville, Spartanburg counties. And that's going to continue to push off to the east there. So over the next couple of hours, especially if you're in our eastern counties, have a plan in place, especially if there's any warnings, maybe someone's going to be coming home from school or coming home from work. Let them know that they do definitely need to keep their eyes on the weather as we continue to track this low pressure system that's going to continue to work over our area. So once again, as we do take a look, there is the tornado warning that's going to be in effect until 5 o'clock. That's for Anderson County, and we are really seeing La France, that area. As we do take a look at the velocity mode, you can see where you're seeing the greens and reds. That's towards and away from the radar. If you're in Sandy Springs, if you're in Five Forks, just maybe have that Denver. Just make sure you have that plan in place as we continue to track a possible tornado warning. It's, a tornado warning, but a possible tornado. It's all radar indicated right now. Christy.
All right, yeah, Jackie, and there's a couple of cells that we're going to be watching here from Pickens County down through Anderson County. There's about 4 of these things that we'll keep an eye on. Of course, the storm that prompted the warning is this one right over the Sandy Springs area, maybe just east, right now, northeast of town. The velocity mode certainly tightened up quite a bit. So if there is a tornado within this storm, it is moving in the general direction of Lebanon, also Five Forks along Highway 178. As we back this up a couple of frames, then step it through, you can see for yourself how this has been moving, definitely moving to the northeast. And as that rotation has stayed pretty tight, again, so far, no confirmation of a tornado, but certainly some rotation evident here as that heads towards the Lebanon, Five Forks area. Beyond that point, it would move east of Highway 178, should stay west of Piercetown, but if you're in Anderson County, you can see the extent, aerial coverage of the tornado warning. Well, then you need to be taking cover right now from this storm that is definitely going to be, it's north of Anderson. So if you're in the city of Anderson, it's north of you, it's north of 85. And that is moving northeastward. So we'll put this in motion, show you how it's moving as it's been helping some rain to increase once again. A lot of folks didn't have to worry about any severe weather. Of course, we had a few severe thunderstorms earlier today, but now with the low pressure area moving through, it's impacting how the atmosphere is set up for some rotation here throughout the depths of the atmosphere. But again, we're also going to keep an eye on this activity west of 178. Right now, doesn't look like it's got any rotation with it. So our main concern is just going to be the storm that the warning was issued for, and that's getting close to Highway 178, doing a storm track. There's lots of rural areas in through here, so, not much shows up. However, if you're in the northern portion of Anderson County, you should be aware that that storm is moving in the general direction along Highway 178 to Highway 88. You want to keep an eye out for that as well. Ahead of that, we've got rain coming down in northeastern Anderson County into Greenville County, but the storm that prompted the warning is actually off to your southwest, moving northeastward. So as that continues its track northeastward, it's going to cover some more ground, and we'll also keep an eye out for any confirmation or damage reports, but we are under that tornado watch until 9 o'clock, and that includes a big part of the upstate. So there's still time, even though, as Jackie was showing you, the cool temperatures, we've got a lot going on in the atmosphere. Even if it's a very brief, weak tornado, that can cause some damage. So again, north of I-85 is where the threat is right now. Tornado warning is in effect until 5 o'clock. This is going to stay north of Williamston, it looks like. If you're in that warning, in the northern portion of that warning, north of 85, you should be taking cover right now. We did get a new update in. So as we take a look at the velocity mode here, still showing a fairly tight area, just west of Highway 178. Going back to the reflectivity, you can see it's not quite as impressive as it was because we can step this back and show you that we had that curvature there south of Sandy Springs, and now there's not as much showing up, but we still have a pretty good area of rotation here, moving away from Sandy Springs over towards Highway 178. So that's kind of the key here, Jackie. Right along 178, folks that live just east of the highway should be taking cover right now from this storm that, again, no confirmation, and it may weaken, but right now definitely showing some pretty strong signs of rotating.
So I'm going to show you guys a couple things that we have going on as far as the atmosphere as we can take a look at links one here. The tornado watch, again, for all of our area, as Christy just showed you, the tornado warning, and that is, again, until 5 o'clock, the tornado watch until 9 o'clock, but that energy really pumping up over the next couple of hours. So we're not weak, we're not quite strong, but we have enough energy to fuel the atmosphere where we can see a few thunderstorms. And you really see the bulk below 85, not a ton in western North Carolina, but most of it's sticking to the upstate. That's by about 7, 8 o'clock as we start losing the daylight, and that starts a really, the daytime heating, that really starts to make things calm down. But look at our biggest wind threat for today, 5% if you're along into the north of 85, and again, still portions of Anderson County, Pickens, really the further south you get there, Lawrence, Union, Greenwood, Abbeville County, that's where we see our biggest wind threat. right now, just keep that in mind for the rest of the afternoon into your evening hours. And this is showing you the lightning strikes that we can see this afternoon. So if you have any outdoor plans, we really have that possibility of seeing lightning with this system, with thunderstorms. And then again, by around 8 o'clock, things start to taper off and die down a tad bit with this system. So this is a culprit here, this low pressure system that's going to continue to push to the east. And as it does, we can continue to see those thunderstorms and showers with damaging winds and isolated tornadoes along that line. So over the next couple hours, that's by 6 o'clock. And then there you have by 7 o'clock, we'll start to see that low pressure system get on out of here. So if you have any afternoon plans, again, maybe after school activities, anyone coming home from work and you know that they're in these areas, especially Anderson County right now where that tornado warning has been issued, make sure to let them know. And over the next couple of hours through this evening, we're going to continue to see this low pressure system push to the east. So Christy, we're definitely not out of the woods with this system, as we've got a next couple of hours, still enough energy to see these storms continue through our area.
Yeah, definitely right. And, you know, I've been watching this storm over the past couple of minutes, Jackie. The reflectivity, the brighter colors that would indicate the very heavy rain, you know, in some cases maybe some hail, but in this case today we've mainly been concerned about the strong winds. That seems to be backing down just a bit, but when we do check the velocity mode, that's still kind of showing up. Maybe not as tight as it was just a few minutes ago. And the National Weather Service will continue to monitor this and update as necessary, but as far as the warning is concerned. But when we step this back and push it forward, you can clearly see that rotation, the green indicating winds being blown towards the radar, the red indicating winds being blown away from the radar. So the circulation right now is right over Highway 178, and that is going to continue to work in the general direction of, I believe it was the Five Forks area. We'll zoom in and give you an idea, but yeah, Five Forks, Piercetown, you know, anywhere east of 178 in Anderson County, you may have some rough stuff moving your way. So the rotation is very close to the Lebanon Five Forks area, right around 178. As that moves northeastward, it's going to track across mainly rural areas in Anderson County, but still folks are around, folks are traveling. It's the time of the day where a lot of folks are trying to get home. And so if you're in this area, you should be taking cover from the storm. This is the only tornado warning that we have. Jackie was pointing out in the tornado watch, that includes a big part of the upstate. And the better chance for severe weather today is actually to our south, where a severe thunderstorm watch was issued. But there's just enough with that low pressure area nearby to get any of these storms. Even though they're not as tall as they could be in the atmosphere, thanks to the cooler temperatures, it can still help them to rotate. And that's what we've been seeing with this storm. Still showing the reds and the greens next to each other, and you can kind of follow how that's been moving as I push this by just frame by frame, how that's been making its way across Anderson County, and it actually moved in from Hart County. So as that works its way northeastward, the reflectivity mode not quite as impressive as it was just a few minutes ago, so maybe some good news there. The warning officially in effect for another 10 minutes or so. The National Weather Service will reassess. But this tornado warning storm is moving northeast at 35. So if the rotation is there and it's producing a brief tornado, it's going to be right around the Highway 178 area. And right now, the velocity mode is the best way we can pick that out. In fact, we just got a new update here. And so the rotating part of the storm is just north of the Five Forks area. Now it's east of Highway 178 in Anderson County. And that is moving in the general direction of, say, Highway 88. So east of 178, south of 88, around the Piercetown area, you want to take cover as the storm moves to the northeast at 35 miles per hour. It's going to cover some more ground and potentially cause some problems with very gusty winds and perhaps a weak tornado. No confirmation of that, so this is a radar-indicated tornado. That's the reason why this warning was issued. And it looks like it's extended, Jackie. A new tornado warning now in effect for Anderson County, Greenville County, Pickens County. This one in effect until 5:30. So this particular cell was 6 miles north of North Lake, 8 miles east of Clemson, and that's moving northeast at 35 miles per hour. So the same storm, Jackie, that's been showing clear signs of rotation now has been extended to cover additional areas in different counties. So we're looking at this threat increasing in areas that so far were not in the warning, but now you are. So again, Anderson County, Greenville County, Pickens County, I'll widen out so you can see the extent here. This warning does include the city of Greenville, also Gant, easily included. Malden, close enough, you need to keep an eye on the storm. Easily also included here as well. 85 right inside that warning. And the rotating part of the storm still in Anderson County near Highway 178, putting the reflectivity mode back on. Looks like that's made more progress more to the northeast. So Jackie, right around 178 or so, lots of rain and potential of a tornado developing, strong enough for the Weather Service to extend that warning to include other areas.
Yeah, and as we do kind of take a picture at a wider view of this as we switch to our clouds and radar, this is the line, this is the system that continues to push to the east, and this is all attached to a low pressure system. So again, we have extended that tornado warning, the tornado watches, where you're seeing the darker reds and that lighter box there. Again, the Greenville, Pickens, Oconee counties, also Anderson. If you are in any of those areas, please find shelter immediately. We've got those great conditions to see just the hour-by-hour storm energy with that daytime heating. We've really been having the right formula. We've been seeing the shear. We've seen the daytime heating and all that energy. But by this evening, it starts to die down. But over these next couple of hours, biggest threat is going to be that damaging wind threat with those tornadoes. We can see even brief spin-ups as this low-pressure system continues through. Right now, everything's been radar indicated. This is our hour-by-hour lightning. So again, thunderstorms will continue through the early part of your evening before things do continue on out of here. Radar indicated, we haven't had anything confirmed yet, but again, if you're in the Greenville, Pickens, Oconee, Anderson counties, anybody in those areas, make sure they are taking cover. If somebody's getting off work right now, you got to make sure you let them know. Just let them know that we are under that tornado threat, and that's going to continue the tornado watch until 9 o'clock this evening. By 6 o'clock, still a few of those thunderstorms and showers will be around, and by 8 o'clock, we'll start to see things kind of taper off in our area. Again, this is all due to that low pressure system, and as that low pressure system continues to push east, we're getting just enough spin with that storm to have these tornadoes continue to pop up in our area, tornado warnings I should say. Again, there's a look at that radar. So Greenville is now under that, and so there a little bit of that rotation continues to be shown, tighter rotation. So this tornado continues to move northeast tornado warning continues to move northeast at 35 miles per hour. Again, we have had nothing confirmed. This is all radar indicated. Anderson, Greenville, Pickens counties, this is going to be continuing until 5:30 p.m. We have severe thunderstorm capable of producing these tornadoes. Early on, it was about 8 miles east of Clemson, which originally was spotted 6 miles north of North Lake. So this is going to continue to push through. So again, Christy, this is definitely the time for people to take shelter. And even over the next couple of hours, as this low pressure system continues to push to the east, people really got to find their space to get in to stay safe and stay protected.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why the tornado watch was issued for a big part of the upstate is to give everybody that heads up. The watch means that conditions may still be fairly quiet, but things can change rapidly, and that's what we saw. We're tracking these storms in northeast Georgia this afternoon. They were starting to show some rotation, and now there's one that's a problem that prompted the extension now of a tornado warning for the same storm. And the National Weather Service extended that because that rotation is still tight. I've been showing you the reds and greens together, and that's the reason why they extended that to include Greenville County. Now, as we take a look at the velocity mode again, because that's been our way to sort of peer inside the storm and see where the roughest part of the storm is, where the potential issue is, if there's a tornado that has developed in this, it would be south of Highway 1, south of 88 and east of 178. It's been moving northeastward. It's been moving at about, say, 30 to 35 miles per hour. And as I step this backwards and forwards, you can kind of get a trajectory on where this is going next. So if you live around just south of Highway 88, in Anderson County. Again, this is still in Anderson County, even though the warning includes southeastern portions of Pickens County, big chunk of Greenville County, right into downtown Greenville included on this warning. This is the reason why that warning was extended, and it's because this rotation, the reds and greens together, has stayed pretty tight. Now, we just got an update on the velocity mode. And notice the reflectivity mode, not quite as impressive as it was just a little bit ago. So a little bit of good news there, but still showing that rotation. Maybe not as tight as it was a few minutes ago where they were right next to each other, but that's pretty close. So still some rotation within this storm. And as that moves northeastward at 30, that's going to carry it in general north of 85. It's going to stay north of the interstate. It should roll right across the northeastern portion of Anderson County. And if it holds together, that's when it would most likely impact 123. South of Easley would be the best chance of this based on how it's been moving, as that's almost been moving due northeast in that direction to cover areas in Anderson County. But it's also looking like it's weakening. So maybe a little bit of good news there. And if this storm collapses, then the Weather Service will cancel the warning. But for now, we've got to make sure it's not going to cycle. It's not going to weaken and then get stronger again. Because we know there's a lot going on in the atmosphere. Even though, Jackie, the temperatures have been kind of cool in the upstate, and that's one good thing. The farther north it goes, the cooler the temperatures are and the less energy it has to work with.
Yeah, we've really been seeing those temperatures in the 60s in the upstate, and we've been seeing a lot of 70s in western North Carolina. And as we do kind of take a look at your clouds and radar there, we continue to see these all spawned off tornado warnings to the east of us, but now we've got this system that continues to push in. So again, in the Greenville, Pickens, if you're in Anderson County, we've got that tornado warning. Again, we haven't had anything that has been confirmed yet. This is all radar indicated. And again, this is going to be in effect until about 5:30. The tornado watch is going to be until 9 o'clock. We've had the right formula to see some of these tornadoes kind of spawn up. Again, nothing has been confirmed, but that storm energy, as Christy just said, we've been seeing 70s, but we've got just enough energy in the atmosphere, again, in the Anderson counties, in your Pickens and Greenville counties, also Lawrence County, Spartanburg County. So as that system continues to push to the east, we can't rule out an isolated tornado or two as that low pressure system continues through. And then once we lose that daytime heating, we'll really start to see things taper off and die down a bit. Winds have been the biggest concern with this. No hail reports so far with this system, as I just kind of looked at that earlier, but we'll continue to keep our eye on that. But winds, again, the biggest threat with this, the brown and that orangish yellow, again, most of the upstate has that wind threat, and that includes that tornado threat as well with this. And then the lightning threat is there. So any outdoor plans, any activities you had maybe for this afternoon, definitely cancel them, because we'll continue to see that low pressure system work through, and it's just going to spawn up and continue to show thunderstorms and pockets of heavy rain again. That's by 6 o'clock. We can't forget those pockets of heavy rain as that continues to push to the east. By 7, 8 o'clock, we start to see things taper off and die down a tad bit. So we continue to track multiple tornado warnings right now. So if you do have any plans, or you know anybody who's maybe heading home from work right now, again, we are continuing to see those tornado warnings. That was actually in the velocity mode. Let me put this back into reflectivity. So even to the south of Easley there, we continue to see just that, let's see, Huntington South, that heavy cell that has the capability of producing a a tornado with this. So just keep your eye on this area right here, where we can definitely see that possibility. We're getting some rotation. So we're going to continue to monitor this, Christy. And this is definitely the time you want to get the basement. If you are in, say, Middle Creek, or you're in Greenville, the city, if you're in Easley, just with this system continuing to push through this low pressure system, it has that capability to spawn up just tornadoes along this as this continues to push to the east. So we have not had anything confirmed yet, but definitely some rotation as this low pressure system continues through, Christy.
Yeah, and the rotation is actually a little bit weaker now, but the National Weather Service just sent something out saying, we're just going to kind of potentially let this warning continue, because if it is weakening, it may have a chance to re-strengthen. Just because, as Jackie's been telling you, the low pressure moving through adds a lot to the atmosphere, even if temperatures, are a little cooler, and would serve to really rob this thing of energy. And it looks like on the reflectivity mode, at least, it's kind of up the game just a little bit more. So maybe it is starting to strengthen a little more, and it's possible that that's reflected in the velocity once we get another update here. But for now, now, whereas we had the greens and reds pretty strong, now you can see they're kind of weak and spaced a little bit farther away than it was not too long ago. And so that rotation, this is what it looked like earlier. See how strong that was. And then I step it forward and you can kind of see how that's really, really trying to go away. Now the first tornado warning for that thunderstorm, of course, has expired. So now we just have one tornado warning in effect. It's for that same storm that's moving northeastward at about 30 miles per hour. And right now that storm is in the northeastern portion of Anderson County. And as that's been moving northeastward, that's going to carry it close to 123 and very close to Easley. So if you're in Easley, you need to keep an eye on the storm. You should be taking cover right now. You're inside the tornado warning that's in effect until 5:30. Rain is already coming down around Easley. The rotating part of the storm still to your south, but that is moving a little closer to you. And as we get another update on the velocity, not showing a whole lot. So some good news there, but again, we'll see if this thing is able to strengthen again and gain some of that rotation back that was showing so clearly on the velocity mode. Hopefully that doesn't happen and they're able to cancel this, but certainly some very heavy rain coming down as that storm is in the northern portion of Anderson County. The rotating part of the storm is still in Anderson County, but as that moves northeastward, it's going to move in the general direction of 123. Here's a live look at downtown Greenville. Of course, we've had a lot of low clouds around today, lots of rain, keeping an eye in the skies. Downtown Greenville officially in this tornado warning. Similar story for Travelers Rest. So again, the question is, does the storm weaken a little bit and then re-strengthen and cause some problems, or does it continue to kind of play itself out with less rotation around? For now, the rotation looks pretty weak, actually, but the warning is still in effect, which means, the Weather Service, and of course, we're concerned because of its ability to regain that circulation that could produce a tornado. So no confirmation of a tornado. We've been tracking pretty tight circulation with that storm. And as that makes its way into southeastern Pickens County, folks around 123 Easley are the ones that should be taking cover right now and just kind of waiting for the storm to move on by. It's moving northeast at about 30 to 35 miles per hour. So it's definitely on the move. And what I'd like to do is kind of step this forward and backwards because you can kind of see how it's moving with time, officially moving northeastward, but sometimes it edges a little bit farther to the north. And I think in the last frame, maybe that edged more north than northeast. So again, easily 153, 123. If you're in that area, you should take cover. Berea, Gant, Greenville, Wade Hampton, also Travelers Rest in this warning, and it's the only tornado warning out there. We've got more rain falling across the area. In fact, pretty widespread in western North Carolina. In northern portions of the upstate in general, we've got some active weather with mainly light rain in Spartanburg County, some heavier showers in portions of Greenville County, and then we're going to continue to track this storm in Anderson County to see if that's able to regain some of that clear sign of rotation that we're not seeing right now. So Jackie, kind of pacing this backwards and forwards, you can definitely see how the storm has changed. The question is, do we start to see those reds and greens popping up together? Yeah. Reflectivity mode, not all that impressive right now, at least.
Yeah, not a very impressive at all, but we do have to keep our eye on that to continue to see if it does re-strengthen or is it going to weaken. And here's kind of the picture of how this is continuing to move. And then we're looking just to the south of Greenwood County and Lawrence, and we've got some pockets of heavy rain down there. So we're keeping our eye across portions of the upstate. Western North Carolina, just seeing some of that light rain. But really, this is again, if you're in Greenville, Anderson counties, that's where we're really keeping our eye on as we do continue to see that tornado warning until 5:30. A tornado watch for all of the area due to that low pressure system that continues to push through. And over the next couple of hours, still enough energy in the atmosphere with this low pressure system we can't rule out a few brief tornadoes at that. Again, we haven't had anything confirmed, but there's definitely rotation with this storm. We've got the shear, we've got that daytime heating, not super hot, but again, this energy is showing you we're not super weak in some areas, we're not quite strong, but we're kind of moderate where we've got just enough energy in the atmosphere where we can see those tornadoes that we have seen. So we've got two warnings so far. Right now, the one has been canceled, but we still have the one in portions of Greenville and Anderson that continue until 5:30. And then when we lose that daytime heating, that energy goes down again. And through this evening, damaging winds cannot be ruled out with this. Also, pockets of heavy rain. The biggest threat, we're seeing that 15% threat is going to be in your Union, Lawrence, Greenwood, but even in that 5%, we're still seeing that tornado warning right now. So really, we should say for all of the upstate, we have that damaging wind and brief tornado threat through this evening. Here's taking you through the next couple of hours. So as people are maybe getting off of work, maybe heading along 85, we can see those thunderstorm activities and even those brief tornadoes. So make sure if someone's at work, you call them, you let them know to make sure they're being safe, or make sure they check their weather before they head out for this evening, because again, we can see a few of those thunderstorms and showers. And again, along this, we do have the capability of seeing a brief tornado pop up. So right now, again, as we continue to track that low pressure system, we continue to have that tornado warning in effect until 5:30. Again, by this evening, that's by 8 o'clock, just maybe a few spotty showers still left around in our area. But as we do take a look, there we have that tornado warning just to the south of Easley. So if you're in Huntington South, if you're in Middle Creek, just make sure you have that safe space with you. Again, this is located about 6 miles south of Easley. So if you are in Crestview Heights, Hale, take cover right now. Again, Middle Creek, because we're seeing that thunderstorm that has the capability of producing the tornadoes. So again, we continue to monitor this, Christy. And as you said, the velocity, we're going to take a quick look at that again with Christy to see if it continues to weaken, if it's going to gain any strength. And that's going to be the key, especially for as this low pressure system moves through, is this cell going to hold together, Christy?
Yeah, that's right. And the velocity mode actually does not look very impressive right now. So we'll continue to monitor this to see if maybe we start to see more of those greens and reds together. But certainly for folks that are out and about in the weather, in Greenville, in Easley, worried about what's going on, you look outside and you see all the low clouds that you can see there from our city cam over at Falls Park. So we have rain coming down in Greenville, and you are under the tornado warning, but the warned storm is not in your area just yet. There's a live look at downtown Greenville, and it's just a kind of a gross afternoon and evening looking at that sky, just low overcast with rain coming down, and then heavier activity and potentially a tornado producing thunderstorm just off to your southwest, moving northeastward. So this warning is in effect until 5:30. Checking the velocity mode, I've been watching this. I like to step it backwards and forwards because you can see how it changes with time, if it's getting stronger, if the rotation is weaker. And as I take you back in time to just about 4:45, you can see how those reds and greens are very bright right next to each other, and then they kind of fade away as the storm moves northeastward. So there may still be some velocity difference here, some rotation in that storm, but the dangerous part of the storm, if it's producing a tornado, is very close to 123, and that would be close to or just south of Easley. So again, not quite as impressive as it was looking. The Weather Service, though, holding on to this tornado warning for now in case the storm decides to cycle back up in strength and to where we would be able to see that rotation within the storm, which is often the best way to find it, too. The reflectivity mode sometimes just looks like a mess, but the velocity mode actually allows us to peer inside of the storm and see what's going on. So in Anderson County, if you're in Anderson County, this storm is moving on out. So the threat is now in the southeastern portion of Pickens County, south of Easley, just south of 123, close to 153. As the storm is moving at about 35 miles per hour, it's moving at a pretty good clip, and that's going to carry it pretty much the east side of Easley, right over 123 in the general direction of Berea. And again, if the storm holds together, then you need to watch out in Travelers Rest and also the north and northwest side of Greenville. So you can see that they've kind of skinnied up the warning in the last update here, kind of honing in on the areas that really have to watch out. Downtown Greenville still included in this warning. Berea also, as I mentioned, that storm is really headed right in the direction of Berea. We'll see if that holds together, and we'll also wait for another update here to see how that velocity mode is looking. And we don't see any greens showing up right now. So there's only weak rotation, if any, at this point, but they're going to hold on to that warning in case that storm decides to cycle up. Now, that's not the only storm that we're tracking. There's actually some really nasty activity over the southeastern portion of Greenwood County. It's been brushing the county there. The worst of that will stay to your south, lighter rain showers in Greenwood. Again, light rain for now in Greenville. Greer, Spartanburg, no trouble with the weather, at least for now. And then we have heavier showers up towards Caesars Head in northern Greenville County. Fairly widespread rain coming down too in western North Carolina. So one problem area for that one thunderstorm that's been working northeastward from Hart County to Anderson County. Now it's in southeastern portions of Pickens County. If it's producing a tornado, it would be very close to 123, very close to Easley, maybe just on the east side of town and moving northeastward. We'll check the velocity mode again. Still not showing, what it was showing just a bit ago. Certainly some heavy rain, though, and if you're under that warning, you need to take cover. Temperatures have been rather cool, Jackie. That's kind of helped us out a little bit, I think, for how long these storms have been able to hold on today.
Yeah, Christy, we've been seeing those temps in the 60s and 70s across the area, and so not too bad, but one of the things that's really a factor in impacting is this low pressure system that's working through our area. That's helping to aid in the development of some of these cells that have the capability of producing tornadoes, and we also have enough energy in our atmosphere just enough energy to produce these possibility of a tornado. No confirmed tornadoes as of now, but we do have that tornado watch until 9 o'clock. Again, we're looking at Greenville, and Pickens County is really where we're seeing the biggest threat of that tornado warning. And here's the energy that we're talking about. Just enough daytime heating to have enough energy where we're not weak, but we're not strong, but enough energy to produce some of those possible tornadoes. And again, we've had a couple tornado warnings. Also, damaging wind is a threat across all of our area for this afternoon. And over the next couple of hours, that's 5, 6 o'clock, going into the 5 o'clock hours, 5:12, and then into the 6 o'clock hour. Still a few showers and thunderstorms possible. And then we start to see things kind of weaken and taper off. But again, as Christy said, that velocity mode, not super impressive with where the tornado warning and that's basically letting us know if there's any rotation going towards or away from the radar. Mm-hmm. And as we do take a look, Christy, at the velocity mode, again, it's just not really, it's just a whole lot of reds in there right now. So we don't really see a couplet, I should say, where you have something that's actually spinning, but there is some rotation in the atmosphere. So.
Yep, there is, and it's possible that cycles up again. One thing I was looking at is our debris detector. This was a pretty tight circulation not too long ago, and the debris detector is the correlation coefficient, and that's where the radar can tell if it's a raindrop or a hailstone based on the measurements of the different electromagnetic waves heading out from the radar. So debris is going to look crazy, and it's the algorithm makes this stand out, and it does look like there's a little bit of a signature there going back in time when we saw that tight circulation, and I'll circle it. This is going back to just before 5 o'clock right here. I'm going to leave the circle there, and I'm going to paste this forward, and can you see how that continues right along where the storm was located, right along where we were finding that rotation? So while we have not had any confirmation of any tornado, it's possible, as tight as that circulation was, that it picked up a few things. So we'll keep an eye out for any reports there. But certainly that warning's still in effect, so you need to get out of the way of the storm if you are in the path. Right now, that storm is right over the southeastern portion of Pickens County. It is going to mainly stay east of Easley, but if you live downtown or east side of Easley, you should be taking cover. If you're in Berea, if you're in Travelers Rest, you need to go ahead and find your way to your safe room and just wait for the storm to pass. It's on the move. It's moving at about 35 miles per hour. And again, the good news is that over the past few minutes, it has not showed a very strong sign of rotation. One reason the National Weather Service decided to go ahead and keep this warning in place is that sometimes these storms weaken and then they start to re-strengthen. So people start to let their guard down, saying it looks like it's falling apart, and then it strengthens again and can present a problem. So that's why they extended this tornado warning to include portions of Greenville County, including downtown Greenville. Wade Hampton also included in this, Travelers Rest as well. Notice they also made the warning just a little bit skinnier, and they're kind of keeping up with the areas that need to pay attention to this and get out of the way. Of course, you want to go to the lowest floor of your house or apartment. You want to get away from any windows, put as many walls between yourself and the outside as possible. There's another live look at downtown Greenville. Lots of low clouds, keeping an eye out for any potential issues there. And again, we're on the lookout for any reports. So far, let's see. no reports coming in. The Weather Service is saying they're continuing to shrink that polygon like I was talking about. They're going to keep the warning in place for now, but they're monitoring this just like we are. And if it continues to not really look all that impressive as far as the rotation goes, then maybe they cancel the warning, or maybe they make it a severe thunderstorm warning for gusty winds. So right now the threat is east of Easley, again moving northeast, so it's in the general direction of Berea, around Highway 25, Highway 183. If you're in these areas, you should be taking cover right now. Again, the good news, velocity mode not looking as impressive as it was just a few minutes ago. And at least for now, this is the only storm that we're concerned about as far as the potential for damage goes. However, we do have a new cell that's popped up in around Caesar's Head, extreme northeastern sections of Pickens County. We'll keep an eye on that because we do have a tornado watch in effect until 9 o'clock. So, Jackie, we'll see how this storm is able to either get its act together or, look less impressive. But it's certainly bringing some heavy rain and gusty winds around that storm.
Yeah, regardless of where you are, you definitely got to keep in mind this is going to be our... They canceled it. So they canceled the tornado warning. So we'll continue to have that tornado watch in effect until 9 o'clock, Christy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right, which means there could be additional development of a shower or a thunderstorm that would be very isolated, but the potential is there with that low pressure area moving through for any storms to rotate. So the good news, that tornado warning that was in effect for downtown Greenville, southeastern Pickens, that has been canceled. And while we have some heavy showers out there, right now, no warning. So good news as far as that goes. We'll continue to monitor any changes. And, of course, we'll bring you any additional warnings as they are issued. Stay with us. We'll be right back.